Also, during the course of this tournament, 17,000 of you, 629 to be exact, participated in the first ever Chess League community. Which, can I just say, that's a lot of people, and you're very awesome for doing that. But like 600,000 of you were watching these recaps. Guys, I told you, if you have a course on Chess League, all you gotta do is log in and do some daily tasks. You're exposing yourself for being a little bit lazy. You didn't have to do much to unlock some amazing rewards. We're gonna be doing more of that in the future. We're gonna be gamifying Chess League. It's gonna be awesome. Folks, the end of the tournament. My last round game. Going into this game was a little bit difficult because obviously I didn't go into the tournament trying to get a GM norm. And yet I suddenly found myself in a situation where I actually could do that. Now, if you don't know how to become a Grandmaster, you need to get 3 norms, which is 3 tournament performances, and you need a rating of 2,500. So even if I got a norm, I'm very far away. My opponent, Daniel Tabuenca, is a young man, 15 years old, from Spain. He's already higher rated than me. Not at my peak, but he's obviously very, very strong. And he needed a draw in this game to get an IM norm. Now, it is customary where if you're playing against someone that only needs a draw in the final round, and you have nothing to play for, you just kind of give them a draw because they kind of earned it. Some of you are going to think that's like match fixing or whatever. Yeah, chess is weird. It's weird, but it's the culture. All right? I wasn't going to do that, though. Actually offered me a draw, like, I think somewhere early in the game. And I was like, no, I want to play. Like, let's play. I'm going to try to win. And if you beat me, great. If I lose 2 games in a row to end this tournament, great. But I'm going to try to win. So I played the Queen's Gambit. I want to set a good example. And he played a6. He played a very strange move order. I think he wanted to avoid the Tripowski. I guess. So he played this. And I saw that in a previous game, he had played this setup. He had played Knight c3 and Knight f6. The a6 Queen's Gambit declined. Actually, an opening that I played myself at this tournament against Pepe Cuenca. And actually, I had this same exact position on the board against Pepe, and I went here. Well, Pepe, rather, went bishop g5 in our game. If you remember, that was from the second round. And in that game, I played Knight f6. Pepe went here, take, and c5. And then it was an interesting game, which ultimately ended in a draw. What's funny is that all of the same stuff happened in this game. And by the way, if you're wondering why I was 15 minutes down, I was late to the game. I stopped by a local cafe about 2 minutes before the game started, and it took me 15 minutes to get a cup of coffee. Spain, I love you. You were a great country. Oh my God, your service in cafes is so hit or miss. Like in New York, you get a latte in 2 minutes. In Spain, it could be siesta time by the time you get the latte. So I was like 15 minutes late. And here he played this move b5. And b5 makes a lot of sense because he attacks my bishop and puts the bishop on b7. But I knew there was something wrong with this move. And I was looking at the position going, you know, there's a reason I played c5 against Pepe, and I delayed the move b5. Like, there's a reason. And I was trying to figure it out over the board, and I got it, but I got it after playing my move. Like, my original idea when he played b5 was retreat the bishop to this diagonal, like this, and then just very quickly play a4. And basically target his pawn on b5. If the pawn goes forward, now I get complete access to c4, and if he continues to play like aggressively toward my center, this is wrong. This is wrong by him. Because I will very quickly swarm him with all my pieces. Like, this is too airy of a position. For example, you play a couple of moves, let's say like bishop takes f3, queen f3, rook c8, and suddenly you realize black is just too far behind in development. Black needs one more move, and suddenly it's too late. Because if you take with the knight, knight d6 check is fatal. If you take with the king, you should be euthanized, and if you play queen d7, knight b6 wins the game. So you can't play like this with black. Really, really, really careful. If you play c6, your bishop's just really bad, and white just gets an advantage. And for whatever reason, I went here. Like, I can't really explain it. I mean, I kind of played this move almost just by hand, because I was 15 minutes late to the game. Yeah, like, you'll notice I didn't spend a lot of, I spent, 2 minutes. And I put the bishop on b3, and I pressed the clock, and I was like, why did I do that? Why, this is not... I wanted to play the same plan, But part of me also wanted to push for d5. Like, the reason I didn't put the bishop back here, because I thought, well, you know, in some positions, you're actually attacking the center. It's not the stupidest thought, but it's not what happened. So he played c5. I still was thinking, okay, you know, like, I'm gonna castle. He can overextend, right? And then, now I'm gonna break his structure with my pawns, which I thought was... He played c5, there's some construction going on outside. If you hear it, please, you know how it works on this channel. I tell you about noise, you don't hear anything. So castles, bishop e7. And I played a4, and I thought, I have a nice position. I'm gonna pressure his pawn, I'm gonna pressure this pawn. He has the ability, again, to overextend here, and then give me an opportunity to play in the center. I thought this was all very sensible. Again, b4 is a very bad move. It grants me access to the c4 square with my knight, which would be very nice. He thought I'd play this move knight d7. And I was like, really? Like, can't I take, knight c3, put pressure? I don't know. I mean, I thought about this. I thought I can just take on a8, and he would take with the queen, I'd play knight c3, and, you know, I even thought he could play c4 here. No, not here, because knight takes b5. But I was, okay, like, even b4, knight b5, I don't know, I didn't really see... Even I thought, like, bishop c6 was fine. It's not, because I can play e4 very quickly. So, I thought maybe I could just rip open the entire position, because I'm more developed than him. He needs minimum 2 moves to get castled, but if I start trading... Of course, he doesn't have to take with the queen, he can take with the bishop, which looks a little bit silly. Maybe I can take, and then maybe, you know, he would take with a knight or something, but then I would trade his queen. But even this position is completely equal. This pawn is weak, but it's kind of impossible to attack. Like, even knight c3, bishop c6 is just fine. So I thought for a long time after a4, knight d7, and I settled on queen e2. And again, the idea of queen e2 was baiting him into a fight. Like, I wanted him to go c4, because then the position becomes imbalanced, because then he will, you know, have this structure, but I will try to play for the center, and I will try to go b3. I also calculated after queen e2, queen b6. And I thought it would get very complicated. I was going to go knight c3. Now I'm forcing him to play this move, and I'm maybe even forcing him to play b4. And then I would play, like, knight b1 and maybe b3. And I mean, this is completely ridiculous, but it's a complex game. And I thought, okay, I'm going to play knight d2, or maybe even just blockade the pawns. That's not the best move. I should play knight d2. But the goal is with queen e2, like, get him to hang on, or, you know, come forward. Like, I'm sort of baiting him in, right? And he needs to play for a draw to get his norm. It's going to be uncomfortable for him to suddenly get in a fight, because you start taking pretty big risks. Also, this is never going to happen, right? Like, you literally, you get a +2 advantage if you take the pawn. Because again, you're so far behind in development, you can't get yourself in a position like this. You're too open. So, queen e2, he thought for a while that he played a great move. He played the top line of the engine. The second line of the engine is to play c4 and get into this fight with me. So my move made sense. My move was smart, you know? And again, I thought about different ways to provoke him. But I didn't like that he would storm in with these pawns sometimes, and so I thought queen e2 was a really nice way to do that. And he played a great move. He played the best move, and that's why he's 2350 at 15 years old. After queen e2, very clearly indicating I would like to take his pawn on b5. He ignored everything. He did not play queen b6. He did not go c4. He played a move I didn't even expect. He played bishop e7. So my point was, I'm attacking his pawn, so he has to do something about it. Because, you know, he's either got to go here or defend his pawn. He said, no, I'm just going to get one step closer to castling. And the idea is that if I take, right, and then I have to take his rook, now he takes with the queen, and if I take on b5, he takes on f3. So he uses my own momentum against me, right? And after take queen f3, I don't have anything on the back rank. My king is wide open. This position sucks for white. Sucks. Terrible. I gotta go here to stop queen g4. And this is not the game we want, because he's gonna castle and be fine. So when he played bishop e7, I started realizing, oh, I don't have any pressure. This was a very nice move. Didn't see it at all. Literally, maybe it was like amoeba brain, or brain-eating amoeba, or whatever you want to call it. I mean, I thought my move was very sensible, because I target his pawn, I make way for, you know, my bishop, my position to put a piece on d1 if he starts coming forward. He said, no, you're actually not threatening anything. I'm going to use your momentum against you. And so at this point, I was like, all right, I got to take, and now I have to develop a piece. I need to protect my rook. I need to attack this pawn with two different things. I am still, let it be known, baiting